Okay, this is going to be difficult because I have a furry friend here who is nudging my arm and interrupting my whole process. I'm staying with some friends while I train for a new job, and yeah, I'm going to have to make do, but I don't mind because this is Eddie, and Eddie is very sweet. Failure is a funny word. For some people, the word can roll right off their backs like water off the back of a duck.
Do people even say that?
For other people, the word failure can conjure images of vague disappointment filling the eyes of some paternal figure in their life. If you're in this second category, then I am really, really sorry. But also, this might not be the video for you.
Failure.
In today's episode of Auto Alchemy, I'll be reviewing the book Mindset by psychologist Carol Dweck. Mindset was released back in 2006, back when my own mindset was heavily colored by Fall Out Boy songs. The overall premise of this book is that there are two basic ways of viewing your identity and your relationship with challenge. 3 ways if you're nasty. So basically we have the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. The fixed mindset can best be summed up as
I am what I am, and that's all what I am.
it's this whole concept that your identity is somehow carved in stone. Some examples from past Jeffrey include, but I'm always gonna be depressed. I'm just not much of a good cook. I would rather drop dead than to film myself for any reason. So it's not too hard to see how a negative label can take on a life of its own. Like telling a little girl who's struggling with math that women just aren't cut out for quantitative rigor. There's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy there. There's going to be a snowballing effect. But what we overlook is the stifling effects that seemingly positive labels can have on us. When you're told from a young age that you're one smart cookie, then you can start avoiding situations that might somehow call that label into question. If you encounter a subject that you struggle with, then you can, throw it into a box of things that are intrinsically worthless. You don't have to qualify that as a genuine hobby or a genuine endeavor or a genuine area of study. So you can't always get away with that, and sometimes you're going to have to do stuff that is going to put you in that precarious position where all of these labels that you assign yourself are going to be kind of precarious. Did I say that already? So in situations like this where you have to do something that is completely contrary to your identity, you can cheat, you can lie about how well you did if people weren't around to actually observe it. And the last resort is blaming literally anything else. So you might say, man, that teacher's on drugs. Or you might say that the test was really unfair. But then you gotta kind of ask yourself, if it's so unfair, then how did the people who did well at it do well at it? Now let's juxtapose that with the growth mindset. Having a growth mindset means that you believe that you are ultimately able to cultivate talents in particular areas through effort. So this isn't really a claim about being literally capable of anything. It's not like a claim to omniscience or omnipotence. It's a more modest idea. It's the idea that you are a process. You're not some fixed thing. You are this tornado that's crawling across the surface of the world, and you can bring in certain energy and you can expel other energy, and you have at least some modicum of control over what's coming in and what's going out. And by displaying a growth mindset, you can be a little bit more realistic about your strengths and your weaknesses, and you can strategize effectively on that basis and just do a better job in general. So by actually adopting a growth mindset, you can accomplish a lot of the things that people with the fixed mindset are so desperate to secure. All right, now it's time for an actionable. I want you to describe yourself in 5 words and take a good long look at those words and try to figure out what kind of relationship they imply between you and challenge and failure. So if they seem like they exemplify the fixed mindset, then I want you to try to think real hard and see if you can replace them with something a little more process oriented. So if you've always identified as being smart, then maybe you would want to instead think of yourself as curious. So you're still retaining something, right? You're retaining this like love of wisdom and knowledge, and at the same time you're not limiting yourself as much. And if you're struggling to find a good replacement, then please feel free to leave a comment and I can try to help, or the millions of monkeys at their typewriters that make up YouTube can also try to help. So now that we have a handle on the distinction between the two mindsets, let's talk a little bit about some myths surrounding the concept of mindset. Did you know that contrary to popular belief, Alfred Binet's IQ test wasn't intended to categorize children as having some fixed level of intelligence? It was actually supposed to be a diagnostic tool to say, hey, look at how poorly these schools in Paris are performing. But if you're a fixed mindset type of school, you're gonna deflect, you're gonna place the blame on the kids, you're gonna find some way of saying, well, we can't help it, this is what we're working with. The second myth about mindset is that our successes are about neither nature nor nurture. So, each person is born with a different set of gifts, and they're born into different circumstances that shape them, and despite that, effort and attention can take us pretty far. And that's not to say that effort is everything. Obviously, we need to have proper social nets in place, and we need to have a culture of compassion, and we need to try to cultivate each other. But that being said, your own mindset and your own level of effort are the most accessible things for you to work on right now. So they're going to give you the biggest bang for your buck as we go out into the world and we try to reform our political institutions into whatever is most conducive to human flourishing. The third myth is that people with a growth mindset won't actually experience any negative emotions, and that is obviously just false. Failure is always going to hurt, but if you have a growth mindset, then you're not going to internalize that as some sort of traumatic experience. Instead, you're going to say, well, what did I contribute to that? What was out of my hands? And is there anything that I could learn? The final myth is that you are either all fixed mindset or all growth mindset. So mindset is a pretty powerful and far-reaching phenomenon. It can apply to pretty much any domain of your life. It can occur in a relationship whenever you're putting your partner on a pedestal, or you're expecting your partner to put you on a pedestal because you don't want to hear about any negative traits that you definitely have. It can occur in the classroom whenever you're shaking your chalk at the student that you've decided to label as the perpetual troublemaker. The thing is, we need to be vigilant about how we view ourselves, regardless of the context that we're in. Anyway, I just wanted to say that I really did enjoy this book overall. I think it was actually the first book that I read that was in the self-help category, and it left a good taste in my mouth and kept me receptive towards other books in the future. And Eddie, I don't have time for this, Eddie. Look at that, my space is almost full on my phone. All right, so Eddie also has a pretty great mindset and is always growing as a person. He's pretty confused by that. And yeah, so the book was really, really good, and it really resonated with my own story, which I'm now realizing I didn't talk about at all, so I'll have to make a follow-up video. The book was kind of brimming with anecdotes, which was almost too much for my taste, but I kind of connected the dots early on. In any case, it was really good. I highly recommend it, and I'm going to have to give it a solid sideways 8 out of 10. Until next time. Hey, come on, man. Get your... together. You're really messing up my vibe, Eddie. Aw, bud.